Guys, a very good afternoon. This is Anand Kumar again, and welcome to my video lecture series number 2 for the month of April. And in the last class, we have seen about something interesting, a topic called as file. And in this class, we'll just start with another interesting topic that is what we call as file system and file system directories. So, to begin with, a file system consists of a collection of files, and if there are a number of files that is to be kept in the secondary memory, I mean to say in some hard disk, it is better to keep the files organized. The main object of a file system organization is to organize the files. So, for example, similar type of files can be grouped and the group can be given with a name. So just refer to the diagram I have just shown here. I'm just scrolling it around. So a file system interface can also support virtual file system interface. A file system interface is an interface or a collection of files that can be stored right away in the operating system physical device. And the VFS interface, that is virtual file system interface, can just also be running parallelly along with the file system interface. So most probably local file system, that is type 1, type 2, and of course we can install and we can run about the remote file system type 1. I mean to say, connected to a network, we can access with through another block system. So a similar type of file system that can be grouped and the group can be given a name is what we call it as directory. Many directories can be grouped under the single category and another category and so on. So regarding the directory structure, this organizes and provides information about all the systems in the system. So most probably, this is what we collectively call as a file system. So to start with some physical or logical separation, and physically and logically separate large collections of directory, we can maintain some partitions. I mean to say, if there is a hard disk of 1 TB, we can just partition it into four partitions, which somewhat like 250 GB each for the use of, I mean, ease of use. So each partition can have different file system. So let me explain this with a simple concept. Considering like, so just a minute. Considering like we have a 1 TB hard disk, and in that 1 TB hard disk, we are just making a partition like C, D, E, and F. The C drive can be using a single file system. D drive can be using as a multiple file system, and E drive can be using it as a new file system, that is NTFS file system, or the old file system, that is what we call as a FAT32 file system. And we'll be looking into deep in the coming slides. So the next interesting topic what we are going to see is about what we call as file attributes. So each file has a number of attributes indicating some information regarding the file. The most common attributes are just depicted in this figure. That is, file attribute deals with name, identifier, type, location, size, and the protection bits, and of course the usage of time, date, user, etc. Most probably it is used for identification in the first term. So regarding the each and every attribute explanation, I'll just start with name, type, location, and size. So name, that's the only information kept in human readable form here, and this is the name given to identify the file. Without this name tag, without this name attribute, we can't identify where the files, I mean, what the file system is in or what the file is about. And next is about the type. The type defines the uh, type of the file, like whether it can support like file system or text file system or image file system. So to give a proper definition, type is a type of file system, a file, and is needed for systems that support different types. For example, the different types of file systems or usage of file systems are text files, image files, source codes, etc. And the major thing, that is the third point here, I would like to enhances location points. So location or location points it to the location of the file on the disk. This is said to be where the disk block is set, or that is the disk block in the disk where the contents of the files are kept. To be noted here, the location is where the file has been stored. Without knowing the location, we can't identify and track it and to retrieve it. So regarding the size, it refers to the current file size. I mean, how much of size it has taken in the physical devices for storage purposes. And the most important thing is protection bits. So the protection bits control who is reading and who is writing and who is executing. This is about the file privilege systems. Some user can be allowed to read and some can be allowed to write, and most probably both systems are used, or read and write system are used, and some can be used to execute and some can be allowed for doing a combination of things, and each can be defined with something called as permissions. So the time, date, and user identification relies with the information kept as the last creation, last modification, and of course the last usage point. A file attribute can give a proper log system, like the data useful for protection, security, and usage. So the next is, we'll go with file operations. So what is a file operation? So regarding the operating system file operation, creation, manipulation, organization, security enhancement, and compression encryption techniques are the most probable file operations what we are going to discuss here. And to start with, the operating system provides a number of system calls to create, read, write, reposition, and of course delete and truncate the files. We'll just start with how these operations are carried forward and carried out. So as I told you, OS file operations are here most probably divided into four aspects, that is creation and manipulation in the first part, organization and searching in the second part, security and metadata inclusion in the third part, and compression and of course the term called as encryption and decryption in the final and fourth part. So I'll just start with explanation of the first part, that is in creation and manipulation of the file operation. The file will be created and it will be stored in directories, and regarding the directories mapping, and after the file has been stored or created, it can be used for opening the file, reading the file, writing the file, and of course some other operations like renaming and renaming the file directory, and of course you can delete the whole operation and you can truncate the directory connection. In the second part, we'll go with copying the files, moving the files, and of course searching the files. And in the third part, regarding security and metadata collections, we'll just go with the privileges. I mean to say permission, ownership, and the metadata. I mean to say the final core data. So the final compression techniques will be dealt with. What are the compression techniques what we are going to use in terms of file operation, and of course the file encryption. So regarding this thing, I'll just stop it here, and in the next class we'll just go with the file operation techniques explanation. Thank you for listening. Thank you.